everyone, welcome back. Today I have another TBR video because, oops, we've already hit June, and I normally try to do these a little bit before, but either way, I do have reading plans for the month, so let's just hop right into it. So, I'm feeling like I'm being a little ambitious for this month. To start off, I actually have two books that I have on Kindle right now that I'm hoping to get done this month. One I've already started, which is Alabaster Island, which I picked out because it's a mermaid book and the cover is just beautiful. If I were any good at editing, I would put the cover here, but alas, I don't have editing skills for that kind of thing. But trust me, it's a beautiful cover, and I kind of picked it up solely for that, but the mermaid part also sounds very fun, and I'm enjoying it so far, so looking forward to that. The other one I'm looking forward to is The Easy Life in Kamusari, which is one that got recommended to me by Amazon based on some of my other reading, and it's on Prime Reading, so it's one I didn't even have to pay for, so I'm excited to try that one out too. So that covers that goal. And then also as like an update to my Diana Wynne Jones readings, since I've been trying to go through all those rereads, I don't have any super specific ones planned for the month, but I do have several that I haven't quite finished my reread of yet, so if any of those get done, I will count those towards it for this month. Moving on to ones that I have actual physical books in front of me that I can show off for everyone. First up, we have Forging a Nightmare. This one, I think, just sounds fun. It's a murder mystery kind of story with fantasy elements. Also, look at this cover. Does this not remind you of Anastasia at the very end when her and Dimitri are on the bridge and there's that horse thing that Rasputin uses to try to keep Dimitri away from Anastasia? Like, there's just all the vibes with this one. I'm very excited and looking forward to it. Next up, we have one of my anticipated reads for the year, which is Queen of the Tiles, and it's a book about Scrabble. I'm so excited, and also you can clearly see it's got some representation going on based on the cover. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to read it, and I'm so happy that it finally came from the library so that I can read it. And then we've got Each of Us a Desert, which is one that I picked up because I was listening to Princess Week's podcast, It's Lit, and she talked with the author, and he mentioned this book and some of the stylized things that he said he did with this book. Like, there's like illuminated pages and poetry and that kind of thing within the story. All sounded very lovely, and I'm very excited for it. So I picked this one up purely based on what the author was saying about it in that podcast. And I can't wait to dive into this and get a good read of it. Next up, to help cover my nonfiction goals for the month, we've got Reading Lolita in Tehran, which I think maybe turned up in an earlier TBR, but I'm almost done with it. I have one part left because it's broken into 4 parts, I want to say. I have the Jane Austen section to finish reading next, and that'll be the end of this book for me, so I'm going to try to actually finish it this month. I've really enjoyed what I've read so far, and I just really want to actually say that I've finished it instead of like I've started it and enjoyed it, but I want to actually finish it, you know? And then next up, I have an additional nonfiction, because as I said, I'm kind of ambitious this month. What can I say? Here we go. This is I Who Did Not Die, which is a memoir and involves wartime. I've started it, so I'm a little bit into it, and it seems like how the war part's going to play into it is he runs away from home and essentially volunteers to be like a kid soldier, and then has like this whole military experience. So I think it'll be a really fascinating read. And also, just speaking of, since I've started both of these, the fact that I feel like I'm learning so much about Iraq and Iran, whereas a lot of the time I think in my mind I'd kind of clump them together as one thing. These are actually about like the same time period, but the opposite sides of the war, and so I think it's just been a good historical learning for me to have both of those, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what I get from them by actually finishing them. Next up, the last novel style that I have on my list is She Gets the Girl, which, let me just say, has all the Soy Luna vibes, which I've been crazy about Soy Luna since I first started watching it during the pandemic. So I'm excited for a girl-on-girl romance that seems like it's got some Soy Luna vibes because of the skating. Yeah, I just think this one will be very fun to read, and I can't wait to hop into it and have a good time. And then finally, if you remember goals that I've been setting for the year, I also want to read short story collections, and as with basically every other goal that I've had for this month, I have 2 short story collections that I am hoping to read this month. First up, we have On the Origin of Species and Other Stories. This one is a, I believe, translated work, but in any case, it's by a Korean author, and I've loved all of the Korean fiction that I've read so far this year, so I'm excited to have a short story one, since all the other ones have been novels, and I don't know if I've ever read a Korean short story collection just ever, so I'm excited to see how that compares to just general Korean fiction that I have read. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I also think the title is really fun, the On the Origin of Species, being a Darwin book that I have read back in my college days, and so it'll be interesting to maybe compare some of the ideas and themes, since this is a sci-fi short story collection, and see if there is any of that original text too, since I have read that. And then finally, the last one that I have is the Spookiest Campfire Stories. This one I thought just sounded fun because of the vibes. I mean, June is when people are doing a lot of camping and things like that, so reading some spooky campfire stories will be fun that way. I actually found out and picked up this book because my family went on vacation, and this was for sale in one of the bookshops. I only got it from the library, but it sounded like a fun vibe, and so I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it'll be a good adventure for my June reading. But yeah, that's my whole TBR for the month of June. As I said, a little ambitious. I have multiple things for all of my goals this month, so we'll see if I get to any and all of it. But yeah, feel free to share your thoughts on my TBR down below if you happen to have read any of these or are looking forward to any of these. I'll link my TBR tracker down below if you want to see how I'm doing with this month's reading, and if you want to look back on past months and see how I've done on the TBRs on those too. Yeah, I think that's all I've got for now. This is the Umlaut Harper signing out.